Okay, hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning. We're so excited to have you all. I'm honored and privileged to be able to introduce this session and moderate for the remainder of the session. I'm personally joining this fifth and final session actually of OCIC's AGM and Symposium on centering reconciliation and decolonization in the international cooperation sector. This week, I'm joining from the Haldimand Tract, land that was granted to the Haudenosaunee of the Six Nations of the Grand River and is within the territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. This session today is a fantastic session, and it will focus on how we can connect global issues to local initiatives through an intersectional and decolonial lens, with a focus on localizing the sustainable development goals through the principles of leaving no one behind and centering Indigenous leadership through community education partnerships and engaging youth in schools. Our panel will also share their fantastic work on the Equity Index Project and Black Art Archive to help create a shared understanding of racial equity in administrations. Without further ado, I would love to introduce our panelists. The complete panelist bios are available on the OCIC website and in the participant package on pages 28 and 29. But briefly, I wanted to take a moment here to introduce them and welcome our contributors for today's session. So first off, we have Shaylin Wabijigit. She's the program and outreach coordinator for KWIC. From March 2020 to 2021, she coordinated for the partnership project with Green Up, advancing the SDGs 2030 agenda in Nogojiwanong, Peterborough. She is currently the program coordinator for the project called Advancing Gender Equality in Nogojiwanong, Peterborough. Her family is Algonquin from Timiskaming First Nation, Caribou Clan, also Irish and German, and she grew up in Rama First Nation. She graduated from Trent University with a BA in honors in Indigenous Studies and Philosophy, and Shaylin will be offering a land acknowledgement for the session in a moment. Next, we have William Ward. He is the KWIC Educational Program Coordinator for the summer, and he completed 3 certificates over a couple of summers in molecular biology and genetics, pharmacology and toxicology, and microbiology and epidemiology at U of T. That's a lot of ologies. In 2018, he attended the UN Youth Conference on the SDGs at the United Nations headquarters as a delegate. He was one of the inaugural graduates of the Youth Leadership and Sustainability, the YLS, and currently he does advocacy work for BIPOC and marginalized students, as well as various research projects centering accountability and social consciousness. Their work is directed by listening to lived experiences and perspectives. Welcome, welcome. And the last but not least, we have Margaret Zoo. She works at KWIC as a program facilitator. She's passionate about engaging youth and students in the wider community. Her interests include climate change, food security, and health. Prior to joining KWIC, she worked at several NGOs in both the US and Canada, and she holds an MSc in Environmental Management from the University of Liverpool and an MSc in Public Health, specializing in environmental health from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Just by reading these bios and reading the description from today's session, I'm so excited about the discussion. And I want to get started right away. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Shaylin to give us a land acknowledgement and really start the session. Thank you, Shaylin. Over to you.
Chimigwech, thank you so much, Eliana, for that lovely introduction. Ani bojo kinawia, Shaylin Wabakisha Kondishnikas, Nino de Wisabin to Miss Coming Donjaba Atekindodem, Minjikaning Donjaba, meanwhile Nogojiwanong Dada. So in my language, Anishinaabe, I said, hello everyone, my name is Shaylin Wabakijik. My family is from Timiskaming First Nation and I'm Caribou Clan. And I grew up in Minjikaning, Rama First Nation, and I currently live in Nogojiwanong, Peterborough. So I introduce myself in the language to call in the ancestors who recognize me by through the language, and also to call them in to be with us today. So I would like to start off with a prayer to open this virtual space in a good way. Chimigwach, thank you, Gujaminado, Creator, for this life and these gifts that we're given every day. Chimigwach, Tushkokumekwe, Mother Earth, for this beautiful world. Nokamistibikigizis, Grandmother Moon, for governing the tides. Mishomiskizis, for all medicine, for Mishomiskizis is grandfather's son, for warming us. Nibi, water, the lifeblood of us all and the all water life. Aki, the land, for all the medicines, food, and all the plants and wildlife that grow. Shkode, fire, for renewal and warmth. The air for our breath and all the beings that roam the sky. And miigwech to all the people. I acknowledge our ancestors and all those who came before us who are always with us. Miigwech for your life and legacy. I acknowledge all future generations that will come after us. Miigwech for your potential and allowing us to borrow this place from you until it is returned to you one day. To all of those things and to all of you, I honor you, I respect you, and I love you. May we keep all of these thoughts of gratitude in our hearts and minds together and keep them clear as we do this important work. I put my Sema tobacco offering to the earth to show my gratitude for these gifts that we acknowledge. Miigwech. And thank you to OCIC for your continued hard work and putting such an important focus on this year's AGM and Symposium, working towards reconciliation and decolonization, and doing so with such an intentional process. We're virtually gathered today on many places across what is known as Ontario or the world. So in Ontario, this is the traditional unceded and stolen territory of many Indigenous nations, specifically the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. I offer my gratitude to the First Nations where I am right now, the Chippewa and Michisagi Anishinaabe, for having me in their territory through Treaty 20 and the Williams Treaties. I acknowledge the history of these treaties and their detriment to the people and their ability to live their way of life with the land that Creator placed them upon. I acknowledge your original laws and customs and the natural laws that belong to this place, and will do my best to follow them as a good treaty partner and visitor to this territory. For our nations, it's custom to be formally welcomed to the nation's territory where we gather together. That is one of the customs where the concept of land acknowledgements is rooted. It's also deeply rooted in our relationships to this place. I was taught that when we come together, we acknowledge the spirit of the air, land, and water where we are that hold us and nourish us. We offer our gratitude to them for giving us life and allowing us to be here to do this good work together. I invite you to think about the First Nations where you're from and offer your gratitude to them for caring for this place since time immemorial. I also invite you to reflect on the history and treaties from where you are. What are your roles and responsibilities as a treaty person? I invite and challenge you to learn more and think about the answers to these questions. Remember, we all have to start somewhere and we all have to keep learning. This learning journey can and probably should be uncomfortable when we think about the horrors of the historical and ongoing impacts of colonization and genocide. We are all treaty people, and as such, we all have a responsibility to learn and do better. We must learn from a diversity of Indigenous peoples themselves, ourselves, and build good relationships, since this is the only way we can ever know and understand the truth of our history and our reality. And truth is necessary for reconciliation. We don't have any more time to be too afraid or too polite to learn or speak the truth. Once we know better, we must do better, speak the truth, and take action. As such, both as part of OCIC's anti-oppression policy and being a good treaty partner, I encourage you to reflect on the role each of us play in reconciliation and decolonization. Through this understanding, we orient ourselves within this context to do better and recognize there's no neutral engagement in our work. We must intentionally engage in each and every space in a way that will allow us to take back lessons, tools, and knowledge to better understand and stand in solidarity with Indigenous nations. Chimigwech, all my relations.